I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.
What it means for history to have a black woman vice president is crazy, right?
I'll say this. The day that Kamala Harris was picked, my wife came to me and she was like, this means something. When you pick Kamala, she gets it. She elevates the perspective of a woman of color. She is smart, qualified, and capable. She can go toe-to-toe with anybody. Harris, who for me is just the embodiment of someone like my mother who could do anything. Yeah.
We know that when black women are lifted up, they lift everybody else up.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for joining this Biden-Harris campaign event, Black Men for Biden Shop Talk in North Carolina. And now, please welcome Terrence J.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Thank you so much for spending time with us today and for tuning in. My name is Terrence J, and I'm so excited to be here for this evening's Shop Talk. If the pandemic wasn't here, all of us would be surrogates across the country in barbershops near you. Unfortunately, that's not taking place, which means we don't get to be with you. And it also means that my haircut looks really bad, which is why I have this hat on. So with that said, we're doing this virtual shop talks. We've been doing them all over the entire country. And today, I'm especially ecstatic about this incredible panel of gentlemen that we have aligned for today. This shop talk has two primary objectives. One, what can we do in our community? What are the things that we need to do in our community, especially for black men? And two, what can we put out there for the Biden-Harris campaign to do for us? We gotta know what we want in order to get what we want. So I'm so excited that the campaign has pulled us together so that we can share stories, share information, and share our resources so that we can get the most out of our country. So with that said, let's begin this off with a special message from Brandon Frame. He's from the Black Men Can Initiative. Brandon, could you take over and say a few words for us?
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Terrence. The Black Men Can is so honored to be a media partner for Shop Talk. Again, we wish we were all in person, but we're not. The Black Men Can is focused on amplifying and creating voices and show what black men and boys can do. And one thing that black men and boys can do is vote. And so that's why we're here, to engage in this conversation, to amplify this conversation of black men coming together, to foster brotherhood and see how we can get our voices heard and what we're concerned about in the community. So I'm gonna hand it back to the host with the most, Terrence, and I'm looking forward to the conversation tonight.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you, Brandon. Right now, we're going to let our panelists introduce themselves and just give us a couple of brief remarks before we get into some of our questions. So with that said, I'll introduce our first panelist. All of these panelists I've known for quite some time, but the first one, usually when I get on these calls, what people don't know is I have the most beautiful voice. My singing voice is immaculate. But whenever this brother is on a panel with me, I have to bow in submission. So Mr. Anthony Hamilton, thank you so much. You're in the car. Where are you, sir? Are we going to the shop right now? Where are you headed?
Yeah, I'm on my way to the studio, man. I'm working on some stuff, and I had to pull over in a parking lot somewhere to make sure I was a part of this, and it's so important to me to be a voice for my neighborhood, for my community, for my people, and I'm excited about being here. So, and we have the best host tonight, so I'm looking forward to it.
I appreciate it, and I feel you in the car. When you get these calls from the campaign, like you said, it's the call to action. So wherever you are, I've had to do these shop talks in the back of Ubers. I did one in the back of a grocery store aisle. Whatever you got to do, you just got to stop what you're doing.
You got to stop, man.
All right, we tagging in. We're going to do this today.
You got to, man. And that's what it's going to take right now, man, because it's so, it's desperate times right now. So we need to stop what we're doing and make this absolutely priority.
At 100%. All right, our next panelist, just one of the smartest individuals I know. You can go to him for so much information, and he wears a variety of hats. Dr. Everett Ward has joined us. Dr. Ward, are you in your study right now, sir? It looks like you're going to solve all of the world's problems from whatever room you're contacting us from right now.
Thank you so much. It's truly an honor to be here with you and to be with our good brothers. And while this is not a barbershop, it is our barbershop, because as black men, when we get together, we can talk about critical issues and come up with solutions. And that's what tonight is all about. So I'm honored to be here with you and be with our fellow brothers and the community at large, because I know tonight we're going to talk about the real issues and talk about the solutions and make sure that this nation really holds up to its promise that all citizens are created equal. So it's an honor to be here with you. I'm coming to you from one of my studies in my home, where we just kind of hang out and study and read and try to educate and do all we can for our people. So it's an honor to be with you.
One of his studies in his home. He has more books in that one study in his home than I have. We'll talk about that later, Dr. Ward. The next panelist is someone that I've known for years and years and years. I look up to this man. I respect this man. You know, I don't know how he feels about me. I feel like he's a father figure for me. And I love this man dearly. Congressman G.K. Butterfield. Mr. Butterfield, how are you, sir?
I'm doing fine, Terrence. It's good to see you again, young man, and it's good to be a part of this great program this evening. I hope the whole country has tuned in, because we've got a lot we need to talk about. I bring greetings to all of you from the 55 members of the Congressional Black Caucus. We are actively involved in this campaign. We are continuing to do our work as members of Congress, but we want the world to know that the most important election of our lifetime will happen on November the 3rd, and hopefully we can talk about that tonight. But we should also talk about the issues that are facing Black America and what Black America expects from Joe Biden.
100%. You know, Congressman Butterfield, the last few times that I saw you were under very different circumstances. We would always bump into each other at the White House. Under the Obama administration. You spent a lot of time with President Obama and with Vice President Biden at the time. And, you know, it was very happy times. Now I feel like we're survivors. I feel like getting through these last 5 years, I feel like it's been a long episode of The Walking Dead. And I haven't seen you in a long time, which means things haven't been that good. So I know it's been crazy. So, you know, coming from you with everything that's been taking place in the country, everything that we've been seeing, from the pandemic to the Black Lives Matter movement, to the global warming, you know, our skies are on fire. You know, what are some of the most pressing issues that you feel directly correlate to us as Americans and especially to us as Black men?
Well, thank you, Terrence. Let's just have a good, serious, honest conversation with each other tonight. Look, I've been involved in every presidential election starting in 1968. I've seen presidential candidates come and go. I've seen them walk the walk, but very few have really, really stepped up to the plate and really done everything that we expected of them to do. But let me tell you about Joe Biden. The Congressional Black Caucus members embraced him early in this campaign. We told him in clear terms, look, man, you just can't walk the walk. You just can't just talk the talk. You've got to put it in writing, and we're going to hold you accountable when you are elected. And so that's what he did. He has published a document that I would invite the whole world to take a look at. Go to joebiden.com/Black America, and you will see his platform as it directly relates to African Americans. He talks about racial wealth gap and the income gap. He talks about having access to high quality education and funding HBCUs. And Terrence, you went to an HBCU, and I did as well. Those institutions, those wonderful institutions, need resources. Dr. Ward was the president of St. Augustine's in Raleigh, North Carolina. Need support, and Joe Biden has made that commitment. Biden is talking about health disparities, racial health disparities, and the criminal justice system needing reform, and all of the other things that we care about. And so that's what Joe Biden says that he will do. But what I want to hear on this call tonight is, what do our friends, our brothers across the country want? What are your expectations for the next president of the United States?
You said so many poignant things there, sir. And Dr. Ward, I'll take it to you, especially when it relates to HBCUs and this entire plan. You know, Trump tried to throw out this new plan. I forgot the name of it a couple of days ago, and he's trying to shine some flashy things in front of us. But Joe Biden and the Harris ticket has a real plan. And whether we dive straight into the HBCUs or any of it, what is the most attractive part of their plan in your eyes?
Well, I must tell you, having been a president of historically Black college, having been president of St. Augustine's, there's nothing more important, as we all know, than education to our community. And historically Black colleges for over 100+ years has been that catalyst for the uplift of our community. What I really appreciated about Senator Biden's campaign, Vice President Biden's campaign, and Senator Harris, they give real detailed accountability of talking about funding special programs around STEM education, putting together research initiatives in the African-American community that can be funded through historically Black colleges. When they talk about taking a serious look at reducing student debt, our historically Black colleges serve a student population, many times first-generation students. But those students are the ones and their families who bring hopes and aspirations, but then go back to their communities and become outstanding contributors to society. So I'm very pleased about what I see with regard to historically Black colleges. We have some 100 historically Black colleges throughout this nation. Every one of them are serving as vital educational centers and do so much for the communities. So I'm pleased about what I see in their plan, their initiative around teacher education. Many of our historically Black colleges have been known for producing exceptional Black teachers, but in their plan, they're talking about special funding to help increase the diversity of teachers in America, and that is so important. I'm very pleased about the plan and look forward to the day that they're in the White House, that there's a difference between rhetoric and reality. And what I like about this plan is its reality, and it deals with the real issues that we confront at historically Black colleges every single day. We need funding for fellowships. We need funding for increased infrastructure. We need to help around the economic development around our communities in historically Black colleges and infrastructure. So many things that this plan is committed to doing.
Which I love. I went to North Carolina A&T State University. I would not have had a career if it weren't for the professors and the guidance that I received going to an HBCU. So like you said, getting that funding, there's no words to describe how important that is. Anthony, you make a lot of money on the road. And this pandemic has hit all Americans in so many ways. I know I do a lot of shows on the road. I've had to adjust and try to figure out other things because I make a lot of my living by being out there. Can you talk a little bit about how the pandemic has affected you and how important it is to have an administration in office that has a clear-cut plan on how to get this thing together so that people like you and me can get back to work?
Well, first off, we want a healthy country, and we want to have things in place to implement security for us as Black men and women and fathers, and to make sure that our kids are safe, healthy educational systems, and just prison reform and all the things that are so unbalanced right now for Black and brown people. Getting back on the road is important, but it's not as important as like that our day-to-day people who are suffering from losing jobs and healthcare and things that are so important. But to get back on the road is very important. Touring is very important, but that's not the main goal here. The main goal is to get the bigotry out of our country and get back to a safe America for me.
And you know, that leads into my next question. I want to piggyback right off of that, Anthony. When you talk about the bigotry in this country, I watched that last the presidential debate the other night, and my mouth almost hit the floor when the question of white supremacy came out, and the entire narrative of what's been taking place in our country, you know, from George Floyd to Breonna Taylor, all of the movement that we've been seeing. We need an administration in there to lead from the top up. Any of our panelists, can you just jump in and just, you know, explain from your perspective of wherever you are, how important it is to have that type of leadership coming from the top down so that we can get our race relations in our country back to a place that they need to be?
Well, I'll start off. I'm a father of 6 Black males from ages 8 to 31. I have sons who I care so much about. And the fact that their lives could be at stake at any moment, whether it be a gas station or a grocery store run, is a problem for me. And the security that they need to have a decent day and have the security that white men and women have is very important for me. And so I have an issue with anybody, any leader who's gonna not see that as priority. And if Biden can do that, that's where we need to be. And, you know, for me to be an entertainer and some days feel like it's a problem for me to go to the grocery store or to a gas station at 10 o'clock at night for the fear of being seen as a problem or a suspect and something that I have nothing to do with. We have a problem here that needs to be addressed, and the racial problem is a heavy one. And President Trump the other day, he gave the okay for the Proud Boys and the white supremacists to be okay with just staying the course and sticking by and continue to do what they want to do. And I have a problem with that. And you know, we've suffered enough, and we're tired of it, and we're tired of we're tired of speeches, we're tired of a lot of the rhetoric that's been happening and stuff that needs to change. And so I just need to see that America is starting to wake up and be aware of the problem that's been plaguing us for so many years, and be really honest and transparent and really solving the problem. And it comes with classism, racism, and all the schisms that keep us in one place. And we need a leader who's going to not just tell us, I don't need another speech. I don't need another, debate. I need people who's going to be in office who really have the heart to really care as a human being, not just a senator, not just a president, not just a governor, but as a human being and as a man who has kids and has family who have suffered something that's similar to what I've suffered and my people have suffered. And that's what we need, somebody who can feel that.
Dr. Ward, Congressman Butterfield?
You know, one good thing about these Zoom calls is that I can sit at the computer and do some research while you're talking. And while Anthony was talking right then, I decided I was going to pull up exactly what the president said on Tuesday night. And check this out. This is what this man said. First of all, the moderator says, President Trump, are you willing to condemn white racists? Are you willing to do that? Are you specifically willing to do that? And he said, yeah, I'm willing to do that. And then he went on to say, well, we'll do it. We'll condemn them. And this is what he said. Proud Boys, stand by. Stand by. Now, Proud Boys are a right-wing militia group. He said, stand by. I'll tell you what, somebody's got to do something about the left. And you know, when they talk about the left, they're talking about us.
Exactly.
They're talking about us. And so that's what we're dealing with. That's what we've been dealing with for 3.5 years. And so what we've got to do in this election is to put this man out of the White House, put Joe Biden and Kamala Harris in charge, and let's hold them accountable, and let's get ready for 4 years of decency and good governance in the White House. We've got to implement the Lift Every Voice and Sing platform. We're not going to just let Biden do what he wants to do. We're going to hold him accountable, man. We're going to hold him accountable to the plan that he has published. He's talked about housing, and an incredible piece in his plan when he talks about housing. Very, very important. And that's how African Americans acquire wealth, through housing. He talks about expanding African American home ownership and access to affordable, safe housing. And then he goes on to talk about investing $640 billion into housing for African Americans over 10 years. We've got to hold him accountable.
And just before I let you go on that point,
yeah,
with all the presidential, because you've been, like you said, since the 60s, you've been involved in every presidential campaign. Have you ever seen anything like this?
No, man. I've been involved in every campaign, and I can call the roll, including my good friend Barack Obama, who was just a superb president. But Biden is going to exceed what any president has done. We've had presidents to say what they were going to do, and some did it, some didn't do it. But this man has published a document, and everybody has the internet on this call. I know you do. When you get off of this call, if you haven't already done it, just go to joebiden.com/Black America, and then spend the next hour reading the plan that Joe Biden has laid out. It is very impressive. I can tell you the Congressional Black Caucus pushed him to put some of these things in his plan, but that is the plan. We are ready to execute the plan and hold him accountable, and we want you to hold us accountable.
So important. Dr. Ward.
Yes, well, I agree. I have read the plan. I especially was focused on the education and the health care. It is an outstanding plan, but I want to go back to your original question around the debate. I think it's very important, and in the barbershop, we can talk freely and honestly. That's what we've done for generations. Clearly, this message is about distracting and keeping men of color and Black folk from the polls. What was done a couple of nights ago was clearly strategically organized. This sitting president does not want to talk about issues. So the strategy was to totally distract from discussing education, discussing healthcare, discussing the economy. But at the same time, it was a clear racist strategy to put into language not even a coded message, but to say that racial division is the way that I want to win this election. It has been how he has administered the presidency, and it is a disgrace that we have to be exposed to this kind of democracy that is led by someone who doesn't have the capacity to lead. But what I want us to say as brothers on this call, we've seen this before. Let us not forget Strom Thurmond. Let us not forget Jesse Helms. Let us not forget George Wallace's presidential campaign in '72. We've been down this road before. Let us not forget Wilmington, North Carolina in 1898. We've seen this before, but the answer for this is to march to the polls, to vote in record number, and let's elect Joe Biden and Senator Kamala Harris to the highest office in the United States. That's what our objective is. Don't get distracted. Don't let the political propaganda confuse us with a few people who look like us that are misguided and trying to tell us to vote a certain way. Look, I've lived long enough to know that just because you look like me doesn't mean you are me. And the facts speak for themselves. And so we've got to stay focused as a people, and especially as Black men. We've got to protect, as Brother Hamilton said, his 6 boys. We've got to protect our young people that they don't have to go through this all over again. We remember Emmett Till. We remember Black boys being shot down and killed. Jacob, I mean, the list goes on and on. A Black man shot 7 times in the back. And you're going to go to the city and focus on a few people who are looting instead of focusing on the man that was shot. Luckily, he is, through God's grace, doing well, but we've got to stand up. But I say the answer is go to the polls. We've got to vote vote and take everybody you can with to the poll. And then the threat that he put out, where he said he's going to send some people to the election polls. Brother Butterfield, you and I have heard that before. Well, we've got news for them. When they come to the polls, we're going to already be there voting in record numbers.
No, that's right.
And hopefully, Dr. Ward, we will vote early. We will vote in the early voting, not just wait until November the 3rd to vote. We've got 17 days of early voting in North Carolina. We need 100% turnout in the early vote. We need to just get it over with.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. 100%. I want to switch gears and talk a little bit about Senator Harris. For me, when I saw the appointment of the nomination of Senator Harris, it resonated in a lot of ways. There are a lot of people that he could have chose as his vice presidential candidate. And him appointing her, a Black woman of color, and what she stands for and what she represents, it touched me personally. I just spoke with her last week. We had an incredible conversation. I feel like she's up for the task, and there's something very, beautiful in my eyes to see her and her strength and her power with this platform. Anthony, can you talk a little bit about what it means for us as Black men to support a Black woman possibly having this opportunity and to wrap ourselves around that?
I think that Black women have a different view of things. I think they come with more of a nurturing capacity. I think they come with a different capacity to love and forgive and to build. And I think they see things that men don't see because of ego and the things that we, the things that, keep us from growing as men, whether it be ego or success or things that we focus on to feed the family and to build a family. I think women see from a different angle. And I think it's important to have that third eye, that fourth eye to watch over the things that we miss as men. I think a woman is very, 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 very important in any growth of any nation. I think not only do they birth babies, but they birth newness and power and stability.
And even watching that debate, there were so many times where it went just all the way left. You're not gonna be able to do that with Senator Harris. Like there's just something you're not gonna be able. And this is if you're tuning in, this is barbershop talk. But you're not gonna be able to do that with Senator Harris up in that office. Congressman Butterfield, you have a daughter. Can you talk a little bit about how it feels to see Senator Harris with this nomination for vice presidency, and you've gotten to know her, spent time with her, how powerful she is?
We love Kamala Harris because she is authentic. I mean, the sister is real. She knows what she's doing. Let me tell you, Joe Biden promised us that he would select a woman as his running mate. He didn't say a Black woman. He said, I'm going to select a woman for my VP running mate. And then he chose 12 people for consideration. 6 of those were Black women: Karen Bass, Val Demings, Susan Rice, Stacey Abrams, Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms down in Atlanta, and Kamala Harris. He fairly considered all of these women and chose Kamala. Kamala is a fighter. If you don't believe that, Trump the other day picked this new lady to go to the United States Supreme Court, and there's going to be a hearing in a few days in the United States Senate. And Kamala has already said she's leaving the campaign trail. She's going back to D.C. so she can rip this lady apart and see what she is made out of. And so look forward to that.
Good.
Yes.
Well, one of the things that I think is so critical that we've got to add is Senator Harris is intellectually prepared to be vice president of the United States. She has the experience, she has the preparation, and she's not just a woman, but she is a brilliant scholar, public servant, and someone who has a proven record of strong leadership. And that's what this country needs, is strong, capable, intellectually solid leadership that has a scholastic foundation. And that's what Kamala Harris brings. She is prepared. If you look at her background, her parents, intellectuals, grew up in a community where she was nurtured from birth to be prepared for leadership. That's the story about Kamala Harris that needs to be told. She's going to be a leader with a foundation, having come through the legal community the way she did. She was Attorney General for the state of California, a DA, a prepared person ready to lead. I'm looking forward to her leadership. I'm looking forward to her commitment. And that's what we've got to celebrate. And what we've got to do as brothers is make sure that the conversation does not get distracted and distorted and pushed in another direction. So we can't sit silent when people throw insults towards this scholar Black woman. We've got to stand up and say, no, 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 and we're going to elect her as Vice President of the United States of America.
100.
Terrence, we're bracing for the October surprise. We don't know what the Republicans are going to come up with in the next few days.
That's right.
But we are bracing for the worst of the worst. And they're going to come after this sister, right? They're going to come after Kamala. They're going to come after Joe Biden. But we've got to be prepared to understand that this is nothing but a distraction. This is all about trying to reach the neoconservative base and for Trump to let them know that he is one of them. That's what this is all about. You know, Black women have led in every election since the Voting Rights Act was put on the books. We got the Voting Rights Act in 1965, and every election from that day to this day, African-American women have turned out at a higher rate than African-American men. That's just a fact. But we're going to change that this year because Black men are going to vote. Isn't that what you call it, Everett Ward? Black men vote?
Black men vote.
Black men vote. We've got this program, and Black men are going to show Black women that we can vote too, and we can vote just as strongly as they vote.
And we're going to do it. We're going to do it together. Brothers, I remember when in 1972, living here in Raleigh, father precinct chairman and mother was a registrar as a volunteer, and meeting Shirley Chisholm when she came to Raleigh in 1972, running for president of the United States of America. Now you just think about, here we've come from 1972, Shirley Chisholm, brilliant congresswoman, and now we have a nominee, a Howard University graduate, a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority, a scholar, a public servant, as the nominee to be Vice President of these United States of America. And I say that we are not, as Black men, gonna sit by. If they have an October surprise, tell them we got a Black man surprise that can outdo any October surprise, because we gonna have 1.8 million Black men that didn't vote last time, gonna vote this time, and we gonna send them all home. You will not attack Senator Harris and think that we as Black men are gonna sit back in silence, because all of us had a wife and a daughter and a sister, and I'd be damned if I'm gonna sit back and watch them destroy this Black woman.
Never. And you said it best earlier. You know, Black women have been showing up at the polls. Black women have been holding us down. They've been our crutch. And this is a time in history where it's time for us to return the favor. It's time for Black men to stand and support her. And just a little personal tidbit, you were talking about, she went to Howard, she's AKA. When I spoke with her last week, I was like, when homecoming comes back, you gonna come to our barbecue on the pot? She was like, you gotta have the fish sandwich. So I just so we know, she hasn't lost herself. She hasn't been in Congress that long, Anthony, where she doesn't remember. She's like, she's ready for the fish sandwich. That's how you know.
With the mustard, hey, with the white bread and mustard.
With
Come
the
on,
white
man. Y'all know what
bread,
it is.
a little hot sauce. She's ready for the
And a
fish.
little slaw. What?
So for
slaw,
me, that was my
slaw,
signal from her that she's with us. She got us. Anthony,
that's a true HBCU graduate. That's a true HBCU graduate.
Terrence,
and I want to say she came out in like 84 or 89 or so. So you know it's real. Back then, it's real.
Yeah.
Terrence, let me throw this on the table. I just had a thought, and Anthony might find this interesting. You know, when slavery came to an end back in 1865, there were 4 million Black folk who were set free out of slavery. And when the 15th Amendment was passed, which allowed the right to vote, every African-American man, I'm told that 90% of African-American men became registered voters, and they had nearly a 100% turnout in every election. The only reason women did not get registered to vote was because the law did not allow women, black or white, to vote during those days. But black men stepped up to the plate, and 20 African Americans were elected to Congress during that period of Reconstruction. In the state of South Carolina, for example, black folk controlled the state legislature during Reconstruction, and it was because of black men. But it was in 1888, 1898, 99, and 1900 when they came up with the literacy test and the poll tax and kicked all of these African American men off of the voting rolls. And it was not until 1965 that we were able to get our groove back and to get our traction. And by this time, women and men could vote, and then women started out voting men.
They started. So in order for us to get back on track, we have to call Anthony, because Anthony only has boys. So as long as we got Anthony in control of things, he has 6 boys. He doesn't miss. The guy does. Anthony Hamilton does not miss with 6 boys. So as long as he's in control, we'll keep on just putting the men out there. Anthony, what's the one thing that you want to see in the first 100 days of this Biden-Harris administration? What's that one thing? Because part of what Shop Talks is not just us talking about what's been going on bad, is how we want to hold them accountable. So what's the one thing that you would love to see at the top of his list on his desk that he's handling in those first 100 days?
I think having black men and women feeling safe. I think police reform and things of that nature, that it's been totally it's been really, really, really hard out here to feel safe and to feel like you belong. I want people to feel like this is the country that we helped build. I want to feel like we're secure. Education, I think schools, we need funding for our schools and jobs and things. Teachers getting paid for taking care of our babies, health care for those who can't afford it. There's a lot of people suffering. There's a lot of people homeless who can't afford health care. And I think every individual has a right to be taken care of, to have a chance at even attempting to have a good life and doing their best. But we should offer them that as people who are in sound mind, body, and soul. I think we're supposed to take care of the people. And I think Harris and Biden should make sure that people are safe and secure. Not just black and brown people, but people who are less fortunate than others. I think there's a classism problem here in America. And I think it's not viewed as, I don't think we view people as equal. It's either your status, your job, or your reputation. And I don't think it's based on a humanitarian, as, I don't know. I don't think it's viewed as being human and whatever the big word is. I can't get it because I'm so upset about
we got a class problem
all the
in
shit
our country,
that happened. Yeah, classism problem, but people don't view it as it's just being a decent human and people that are valued in God's eyes. I don't think we see the value in people anymore. And I think we need leaders who value people like God value us. And until we get to that place, I think we're going to have a problem here.
Amen, brother. Amen. Dr. Ward, he's at his desk. Those first 100 days, day 20, day 30, what do you want on the top of that agenda? What is that thing that you want to make sure that they're pushing for?
Well, I certainly have to agree with Brother Hamilton. There's a George Floyd bill, and I know Congressman Butterfield can speak to that in depth. But the passage of that bill, I think, is critical to deal with reform in how people, how the police we have reform in criminal justice and in the police department. Just the senseless murder and assault on Black men and just Black people in general must end. And so I'm looking for Vice President Biden as the president in his first 100 days. I think his election will change a tone in this nation immediately, because it will be a person that will come with civility, a strong degree of humanity that will make this nation come together as one. But then I think the second is dealing with health disparities. You know, the health disparity that's in the African-American community is beyond measure, and it's complicated even further with COVID-19. So I think his leadership around COVID-19, listening to the medical professionals and the scientists, and making sure that we are dealing with the health disparities, because people of color, especially African Americans, are being disproportionately impacted with COVID-19. So to me, those are the two immediate. And then, of course, education and historically Black colleges will always be top on my list, because education has been that pathway for us as a people for upward mobility.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ward. And Congressman Butterfield, I'm gonna ask you that same question. However, I also have an additional amendment to the question for you. You know Joe.
Yes.
You spent a lot of time with Joe. This is the shop talk. This is the barbershop. You know Senator Harris as well. In addition to what you want to see happen in that first 100 days, knowing Joe and knowing Senator Harris, can we hold them accountable? Can we hold them accountable for us and our communities and the things that we need? With your personal relationship with Joe, can we hold them accountable?
We can, without question, hold them accountable. I first met Joe Biden back in 1982 when I was doing voting rights litigation. We were getting our butts kicked in federal court. And we knew that if we were going to succeed in these voting rights cases, we had to change the law. And the NAACP Legal Defense Fund met with Joe Biden and Ted Kennedy and one of the Republican senators and convinced them to offer an amendment to the Voting Rights Act that would change the standard for proving voting cases in federal court. And they did that. And because of that, that's why we have so many African Americans now elected to office, because of that change in the Voting Rights Act. And so I'm gonna count on Joe Biden to follow through on what he has committed to Black America. I look at his plan almost every day. I'm looking at one provision right now that talks about student debt. And those of you who have been to college or have family members who've been to college, you know one of the biggest problems they have is student debt. You know what Joe Biden says? He's going to immediately cancel a minimum of $10,000 of federal student loan debt. That is in writing. Forgiving all undergraduate tuition-related student debt from 2 to 4 year colleges for those earning up to $125,000 a year. Then in another part of his plan, and I'll close with this, in another part of his plan, he promises families that they will not be required to spend more than 7% of their income on child care. And families with children, you know how expensive child care is. And he will place a limit of 7%, and the government will help you with the subsidy. We are ready for this man to be president, this lady to be VP, and we're going to hold them accountable. I promise you that we will, when I say we, I mean the Congressional Black Caucus, 55 of us, and we're getting ready to grow to 60 or 61. We will hold them accountable.
I love that. And, you know, so many politicians on that level. You know, you guys remember 4 years ago when he was talking, Trump was talking about a wall. These things never happen sometimes. So it's good to know that, you know, even if me and Dr. Ward can't, that you're going to see him in the hallways, you're going to be able to look him in the eye and say you are accountable. That is so important that we have that level of accountability with an actual plan that represents us and what we need to see happen. With that said, on behalf of Anthony Hamilton, who had to hop off, Dr. Ward, it's always a pleasure talking to you, sir, and getting that insight from you. Congressman Butterfield, you know how I feel about you. Thank you so much for all that you do. Trey Baker from the campaign is going to end us with a couple of words. But for everybody that's out there watching, my last words that both Dr. Ward and Congressman Butterfield said is we have to mobilize at those voting polls. There's early voting. You need to vote early if you can. You need to make sure that you do everything possible so that we do not have no November surprise, October surprise. I don't want to see no surprises. We need everybody to vote, activate your vote, and make sure that we make changes for the better in this country. My name is Terrence J. Thank you guys so much for having me. Trey, from the Biden campaign, please take it away.
Terrence J., I appreciate you, my brother. I had to jump in here. It was too many Qs and alphas in here, so we had to bring the noops in to lock this thing down. So just thank you for coming. Thanks to everybody for watching. This was a wonderful panel. You're going to be able to watch this again on one of our media partners, The Black Man Can. They're going to replay it. This is also going to be replayed on Roland Martin. So you'll have a lot of opportunities if you missed anything. But here's the deal, y'all, and this is what's so important about North Carolina. Y'all are voting right now. Absentee mail-ins are going out right now. People are turning them in right now. And you have all these days, like Congressman Butterfield said, to go out and early vote. So here's what I need from you. I need you to help turn out the vote. So go to iwillvote.com. On iwillvote.com, you'll be able to check your registration, find out about where your precinct is. You'll be able to learn all the information you need for voting. After you do that, I need you to pick up your phone and I need you to text AFAM. That's AFAM. Text AFAM to 30330. By doing that, you get access to everything we got. You'll get my emails. You'll get emails from the campaign, and you'll know exactly what you need to do. And finally, I need you to really leverage your social media. So, you know, if you go to iwillvote.com and find out your registration and it says you're registered to vote, post that. Let the people know about it. And also post these Joe Biden messages and let folks know about what's going on. I'll leave you with this. People always say that there's this old term about men lie, women lie, but numbers don't. Here's what I'll say, is that Trump lies again, but numbers don't. So here's some numbers you need to remember. 30 million, the number of jobs lost because Trump mismanaged our economy. 200,000+, the number of lives that were lost because he mismanaged COVID-19. $750, the number of taxes that he paid over the last couple of years. And finally, 0, the number of times that when he had the opportunity, he refused to rebuke white supremacist networks. That's who we're dealing with. And we've got great options in Joe Biden and Kamala Harris to get this thing done. So again, I'd like to thank all of our guests, Terrence J. for hosting. My man, we appreciate you. Dr. Everett Ward, Congressman G.K. Butterfield, and of course, the great Anthony Hamilton. Thank y'all for coming out tonight. Thank you for everything that you do. And right now, North Carolina, you can vote. Go do your thing, pick up your vote. You can take it back in and deliver it yourself. If you're concerned, there's opportunities for you to early vote in person, and you can do that safely. And so we want to get out there. We want to make sure North Carolina comes out. And as Dr. Everett Ward said, these 1.8 million black men, we're coming for you. So thank you so much, and everybody have a good night.